I grew up on the east coast of Florida, and I promised myself when I got into school in Boston, I was like, okay, going to the Northeast, going to the big city, I'm never coming back to Florida. And of course, as it happens, the first job I win back in Florida.
And it turned out for the best.
Sarasota is a gem that we were not aware of here on the west coast of Florida. Quickly, we got ourselves into trouble, putting on these
precursors to the ensemble.
Yeah, putting on these small concerts first in the church around the corner from here, and just kind of playing the music that we had played through school and bringing it to this audience. And people gradually said, hey, you know, you should really do this more. We would like to come to something like this again. And that was the realization that got kind of this whole thing started, was that we're gonna have to do it ourselves, I guess.
I started playing violin when I was 6 years old, and that's kind of par for the course for string players that end up becoming professionals.
I kind of came to music through rock and roll and jazz and pop music through the 90s and the early 2000s. And so we've kind of met in the middle over the years. I ended up going to New England Conservatory also in Boston, where we met.
You know, we started playing together pretty much from the moment that we met each other. It's a privilege, I think, to have that level of intimacy when we're playing.
I think so often when people attend an orchestra concert, they kind of have this experience of we're presenting a historical document or something like from the museum. It's like going to a museum and seeing old art. Whereas what we get to do here at the ensemble is presenting, you know, art that the paint is still wet.
So it's complicated to say contemporary classical because that means something different, and we don't say, you know, pop or rock because we're not doing that kind of thing. So it's difficult to describe other than to say that we play new music, and that's the music that's being written right now. You know, something that's so great about playing music of living people is that we can literally talk to them, say, you know, this is confusing. What do you mean here? You know, specific details to grand philosophical thoughts about what the piece is about.
And through these conversations, it's almost like writing a book with a ghostwriter in a way. So we're able to bounce ideas off of each other and get toward a final product that's really amazing.
I always sign up for all of them because I just find them so interesting and so challenging, and they stretch my ability and stretch my mind. I feel like it's very relatable and something that you initially think is difficult to listen to or difficult to understand or difficult to hear. Once you look behind that and you start learning the language and start learning the background of the piece and you start understanding the harmonies and just this new way of writing, it just opens up this entire new world of music.
Yeah. Some people will come out of a concert and say, that was really unsettling, and I wasn't prepared for that at all. And we usually then start a conversation on why that was unsettling, and that connection and that two-way street with our audience is what drives us and keeps us moving forward, and is the most exciting thing, I think, about what we do. March and April were geared up to be this busiest time, and all of a sudden the rug was pulled out underneath everything. And I just remember sitting there looking around, what am I supposed to do now? You know, everything we have prepared for is gone, has literally vanished.
You know, when we first heard that our, jobs were canceled for the foreseeable future, I think it didn't quite hit me how far into the future that would stretch. And then you go through this slump of realizing that this is for an extended time and possibly the future of your career and your profession and your livelihood, and not only all that, but kind of the future that you always dreamed you would have as a musician is completely warped now and different, and we're still not sure it will ever look the way it did.
This COVID pandemic, I mean, the solitude and the isolation that so many of us are feeling, and I mean, we're lucky in that we get to spend all our time together and we get to share music together and we have this mode of expression. But for a lot of people who are living on their own, or for a lot of people who don't have access to an outlet like we do, it's been particularly stark.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us.
So for us to musically check in is critically important, and we feel like it's the little thing we can do in our community that helps keep the ties together and helps keep us all connected.
So I think it just means that we have to double down and work harder to make things possible in this time, but it doesn't mean that they're not, worth doing, and it means that they're worth doing all the more. So that's kind of our mentality going into this season.
We have to be invested 100% in, like, over 100% in what the composer's intention is and our energy toward really believing in this music and it being a profound, like, necessary thing for us to do.
I think music is something that can bring us closer together, whether it's over a screen, whether it's at a 6-foot distance, whether it's with a mask on, outside, indoors, whatever it has to be. It's a reason to come together. It's a reason to communicate.
I have the stability of an orchestra job to provide me with that first layer of sustainability for me personally and for what I do. And so it's sort of my responsibility and our responsibility to then go out into the community in other ways and to bring art to all those people in a different way that's very personal and unique. This is crazy, guys. We have not played, this is the first time we have played together for me, with anyone other than George since March 17th. This is wild. Thank you for making this possible for us, because this is super cool.